Welcome to Illini Insight, a podcast dedicated to learning more about the employees who make up the diverse and talented community at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. In this episode, we sit down with Don Marrow, Director of Budget and Resource Planning at the School of Chemical Sciences. Don was recently selected by the National Association of College and University Business Officers for the 2023-2024 Emerging Leaders Program. Welcome, Don, and thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Really interested. I was reading your LAS write-up. They did a spotlight article on you, and it said that you got your start in a machine shop on campus in Extra Help. So today you're the Director of Budget and Resource Planning at the School of Chemical Science. How did you make that transition? What were the steps involved? And kind of tell us about your background too.
Sure. It took a while. I've been at the university now 17 years, so I did start as extra help in a machine shop in civil engineering. I worked very hard there to make sure that I could be offered a full-time position. And once I got that full-time position, I knew that this was my opportunity to make the best of it. So I had an associate's degree at the time. I went back to school, finished a bachelor's in business administration, rolled right into an MBA. And then as soon as I secured that MBA, I just put my nose to the grindstone and really started looking for opportunities and ways that I could develop and grow. Yeah. And then eventually found my way to where I am right now.
That's awesome. So what were you doing in the machine shop? Like, where did you start?
So originally in the machine shop is in extra help, I was doing the basic, sweep the floor, wipe the machines down, kind of doing the basics. I think I was there probably maybe 2-3 years, and the professor that managed the research lab in civil engineering retired. And at the time, my boss, he says, hey, how about you go down there and try to learn how to do that real quick so that we can at least have somebody doing the job until we can hire someone. Yeah. They never hired anyone. I stayed. Awesome. And I ended up, that's kind of where I started that progression was I managed that research lab. I was given that title of lab manager. It was a really pivotal time in my career to kind of learn more about the university, understand the processes, and knew that I wanted to continue a career here. So that's kind of how it went. That was my progression.
Did you have a passion for finances, or did you just kind of find it? Did you kind of stumble upon it? Like, oh, did I actually like doing this?
It's a really good question. I wouldn't say I had a passion for it. When I was in high school, I had a passion to be a police officer. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. But life always takes an alternate path. You can try to plan, but it never works out that way. And I think just I've always been really good at math and numbers, and it's always been an interest, but never really a passion. And as I kind of progressed here at the university, I realized that this is really where I belong. It's what I love doing. So for me, it became easy to know that this is what I need to focus on. Yeah,
that's awesome. I've met with a few people who say they got their start in extra help, and I think that's such a great way for people who are unfamiliar with the university or not a part of the university to get at least get their foot in the door, at least to get started with something and just go from there.
I will say on that this university has amazing opportunities, exactly what you just said. Yeah. No matter where you start at the university, there are opportunities for development, and there are resources here that can allow you to create a pretty awesome career if you want it.
Yep. And that's the nice thing, I feel like, working at the university, is people are willing to, to help you. You can reach out across campus. I've said this in other podcasts, but you can reach out across campus and people will literally, spend their time, their precious time, and really help you out in multiple different circumstances. So for those who aren't aware, what is the main goal of the School of Chemical Sciences, or what do they do?
The School of Chemical Sciences has two departments, chemistry and chemical and biomolecular engineering. So if you, everybody's familiar with chemistry. So almost every student that enters this university will come to our building at some point because everybody takes chemistry. Yeah. So the school itself, we are basically, a governing body for those two departments. Mm-hmm. Our job and my job in the business office is we handle all of the business transactions, financial, everything for those two departments and the school. So our goal is to ensure that both departments have the resources they need so that they can, help our students out, send them out in the world so they can make huge impacts.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So I wanted to go back around to this. I said in my intro, but you were selected in the Emerging Leaders Program, which ends in April. So we're now at the end of April at the timing of this podcast. What did you get out of that program? Can you tell us a little bit about how you were selected and then also, what you've learned so far?
Sure. The way I kind of got into the Emerging Leaders Program is, if I back up a little bit, 21 and 22, I was a part of the Professional Staff Leadership Academy here on campus. Yeah. I loved that program. It was fantastic. We're all a part of NACUBO here, so we get the emails, saw the email that they were having the Emerging Leaders Program. It's somewhat new program. I think this is only the third cohort to go through. I saw that and I thought, this is another opportunity to maybe do another leadership program, but on a national scale as opposed to just on campus. So I did submit, I had to apply, go through some steps, and actually, was just selected as one of the candidates. I think we had 76 altogether from all over the country, from institutions everywhere. So we actually had myself and we had another individual from this campus too that made it as well. And it was a phenomenal experience. 9 months. We were able to learn so much. And I think the key is being able to talk, network, with individuals that are not just from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, but all over that have some of the same issues and deal with some of the same things that we deal with here. Yeah. But then getting that different insight, that different perspective that maybe we wouldn't normally get here. That was probably one of the most beneficial things of that program.
So is this program, is this just for higher education, or is it? So it's all universities across the country.
Correct.
Wow, that is awesome.
It's for individuals that are in that level of their career that maybe they're, one or two steps away from being a chief business officer on their campus. Yeah. And that's really what it's designed for. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Shifting over here a little bit. So, what do you find most rewarding about your job here on the university campus?
The thing that I've probably found most rewarding has always been the people that I work with. And I can honestly say in every unit that I have been a part of, I have worked with some fantastic people. Yeah. And at SCS, it's no different. The team that I have in the business office, they're wonderful, fantastic people, not only professionally, but personally. Yeah. So that's always been a big part of my career here, is being able to work with great people. But then students, which I don't work with students as much now as when I was in civil engineering. I worked with students all the time in the research lab. Yeah. I loved it. And that is one thing that I do miss, because I don't interact with students very often anymore. But that was a really rewarding part of my time in civil engineering, was really getting to know students. And when they would graduate, they would come back and see me and want to make sure, that they were able to see me before they left campus, because we had built good relationships. And that was always really rewarding for me.
So were these like interns? How did you work with them in that environment?
Well, in the research lab, they were mostly, a lot of them were grad students, but they were undergrads too that were research assistants. Yep. Working with their faculty on whatever projects they were. So we did a lot of structural engineering testing, things like that. So I worked with students all the time. They were the ones in the lab that were doing it every day. So I was assisting them. And sometimes we'd sit and, we'd have tests running for a couple hours, and it was an opportunity to just talk, find out about their background, where they're from. I always enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, that one-on-one. That is great. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our rapid fire round. So if you heard any of the Illini Insight podcast before, we do a rapid fire round where we ask you either or questions.
I'm ready.
All right,
bring it on.
Okay. All right. So the first one: book or movie?
I know I should probably say book because it probably sounds better, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it is a movie.
Yeah.
I like a movie. I like to sit down with some popcorn and watch a good movie.
Yep. Same here. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah. Yep. Got to have that coffee.
For sure.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. I've tried to be a night owl. It's not for me.
Yeah, it's rough sometimes. As a night owl, it is rough sometimes.
Yeah.
Eat in or eat out?
Well, I should say eating in.
Eating in.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I like to cook.
Yes.
Yeah. So eating in for me.
Okay. Nice. Conference or professional development workshop?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like conferences because of the networking.
Nice.
I think that I get more out of that.
Beach or mountains?
No doubt beach.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry to all the cat lovers out there, but dogs for me.
Alrighty. So we're going to switch back over to our questions here. We've kind of already touched on this a little bit. In the interview you gave for LES, you mentioned being able to take advantage of the professional development opportunities on campus. So can you talk a little bit about these opportunities and how they have helped you, and maybe some opportunities that viewers can find on campus?
Sure. There are plenty of opportunities for professional development. I think it depends a lot on what your interests are and what you're currently doing. I think for me, the PSLA, the Professional Staff Leadership Academy, is a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
I would encourage anyone on this campus to apply and try to be a part of that, because you get an opportunity to not only be on this campus, but you visit all the campuses.
Yeah.
So you can see what's going on in Springfield. You can see what's going on in Chicago at the system level. You get to interact with a lot of senior leadership at each one of those campuses. So those are wonderful opportunities, and you get to network with a lot of different people. There's also opportunities that, IHR puts out for supervisors.
That's very true.
And especially even if you're not a current supervisor and you think you might want to be, these are things that you should probably try to do early and often, because when you finally do end up in a role like that, you're not maybe catching up from behind.
Yes.
So there are plenty of opportunities like that out there. And I would say probably one of the things that's even more important than just, even finding just a structured professional development program is just reaching out to people. Yeah. What I did was, I tried to identify people that were in a role that I wanted to do, and just reach out and see if they're willing to sit down, talk, have some coffee, give me an idea what your day-to-day is. What do I need to do to be in that position? What are some things that I need to focus on? And I think a lot of times for professional development, you can get a lot more out of that than maybe going to a workshop. So
that's very true.
There are opportunities out there that are not just structured, seminars
more personal contact.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And shameless plug: employee learning and organizational effectiveness.
There you go.
Not only you can find these resources, you can go out and find these, but they will also, we communicate out these resources to you, so you get them right in your inbox. So,
absolutely.
But that's so true. I mean, you can really, just even talking to a person that you want to, you want to have their job in the future, you want to have a job similar. I feel like there's so much insight there, and I've done that too. So that's
there is. I just had lunch with someone today, if you can believe it. Reached out that's very interested in this role on campus, and reached out and said, "Hey, can we sit down and talk?" And I am always all for that.
That's okay. So, how has the field of financial planning evolved during your career? Or finance? How has the field of finance evolved during your career, and how have you had to adapt to those changes?
That's a really good question. I think just the role of a chief business officer or chief budget officer, chief financial officer, whatever you are, is evolving over time, as it's not just about the numbers.
Yeah.
There was a time where it was, sit down in front of a spreadsheet or look at a ledger, and it's all about the numbers. Yeah. Now it's expanded so much into really focusing on the big picture, focusing on the future.
Yeah. Trying
to understand, if you can, what might happen in the future and plan for those things. Yep. Being very strategic in that way. Communication has become huge. Before you may have just sit in your office all day and, you're staring at your computer and
crunching numbers.
Crunching numbers. And now it's really about trying to be in front of people,
yep.
listening, understanding what the issues and problems are, and then how can I then provide some resources to help solve whatever the problems are for our school right now. And I think that's one way it's changed, and technology is probably the biggest way that it has changed. We're able to do a lot of things that's not manual anymore.
Yeah.
We can automate a lot of our processes that normally might take multiple people to sit down and do, that we can do in seconds.
Yes.
And now we're talking about AI, and that's something that is still evolving, that will continue to change the way that we perform our finance functions and processes in the future. So this is something it's constantly evolving, but our goal is to be on top of that and making sure that we're a part of it and not necessarily trying to play catch up.
Exactly. What advice would you give? I know you said you just sat down with somebody for lunch today, to just fill them in on like what you do and how you can get here. What advice would you give to some of our viewers out there, or listeners out there, on what they could do to get in a role that you're in?
Yeah, I'd say number one, what I just mentioned about reaching out to someone.
Yeah.
If you have an idea of a role that you would like on campus, it's real easy to find out who does that, right? And reach out. I would say the other thing is focus more on the soft skills and not so much on the hard skills that everybody is used to focusing on. Yeah. They want to have those technical skills. I want to make sure that I have my accounting and I'm really good at that, and which those things are all important. Yep. But the soft skills are what you really need to progress your career. Being able to communicate, whether it's written or oral communication, being able to speak in public, being able to have emotional intelligence if you're going to be a leader and you're going to manage a staff, and being able to look beyond the numbers and be a big picture person and not have that myopic view of just tunnel vision. I think focusing on soft skills is something that not a lot of people think about until they're in the position and realize, oh gosh, I have to do all these other things. So the technical skills are great, and those come along with education and learning. I get that. But focusing a lot more on the soft skills that you think you're going to need to progress.
Well said. Do you have any upcoming initiatives or programs that you are personally excited about in your current role?
Well, I'm a part of Operational Excellence at Illinois.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the procurement functional design team. Mm-hmm. And for me, as we progress in that's something that I'm pretty excited about, because in our business office, I do manage our procurement process there. And I know how sometimes it can be difficult. And to be a part of a solution and not just be a part of the problem, I think is exciting. That's something that as it moves along, because we're in the infancy stage of it a little bit. As it progresses and moves along, I'm pretty excited about what the outcome of that is going to be.
That's awesome. I'm curious to see what your answer is for this. But what are some common misconceptions that you think people have about your job?
Well, I will say, I think one thing is probably not a lot of people understand what I do. Mm-hmm. And if you were to ask my two daughters what I did, I would be interested to hear their answers, because I think in my role, it's not specific. Yeah. So it'd be different, I guess, if I said I was an accountant, people knew what I did. Or if I said I was a plumber, people would know what I do. Yeah. A lot of times when I say, oh, I'm director of budget and resource planning, they have no idea what that means, right? Yeah. So I think a common misconception maybe could be that they just don't understand what that job is and what it entails.
The title kind of, it's not fully encompassing of what you would do.
Correct.
What you do normally. Okay. So could you tell us about a day that you felt most proud to be an Illinois professional?
That's a good question, because I've had a lot of really good moments here over 17 years. Mm-hmm. I honestly would say, even though we've mentioned this, I would say one of the times that I was probably the most proud was when we finished the PSLA program, when we graduated. We were all together. We received our accolades, and the program was over. I felt a lot of a sense of pride in finishing that program. For me, it meant a lot. for my growth and development here.
Yeah.
So just to think about one right now, for me, that was an extremely proud moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for joining us on Illini Insight. My name is Keith Miller, and I will see you next time.